Hey guys, hold on a second here. Hey guys, welcome to my broadcast. And sorry for the YouTube commentary on there. That's, I guess YouTube changed something on the comment section. So it's kind of screwing up the display there. And I forgot all about it until I remembered the last time we had some display problems. Hello, Claire Peters. Hello, Twist Mint on YouTube. And hello, guys, on Periscope. So let me just set up here. Hold on a second. And let me adjust the mic. There we go. Hello, Great Gold. We have an interesting topic tonight. It may not seem interesting to you, but it is. It actually is. And you will find out that it's actually not as boring as the title would imply. From the title, you would say, "Oh, what the fuck is this subject matter?" It doesn't sound too important, but it actually is. So, anyway, I'm gonna hold on. Let me just bring up YouTube here, and thank you for all the people on YouTube right now, and thank you for the people on same number of people on Periscope. So, the title of the broadcast tonight. Let me just see the hello entire Meyer. I'm Minute Trap Star. Who else did I miss? Jamie, Twist Mint on YouTube, and who did I miss here on Periscope? Levendi, Michael, Mark, Spotter TV, and Great Gold. Hello, guys. So welcome to those of you who have identified yourselves. So the topic tonight is about two-factor authentication, and this is not gonna be some simple topic. It's actually much more fascinating than you can imagine. I myself have withheld doing two-factor authentication because of the traps, and we'll talk about the traps first and why two-factor authentication is kind of a difficulty. You missed iSocialFit. He was here. Okay, so anyway, and I have a video of this device here. So you can see this device is a tiny little thing. This is a hardware two-factor authentication device. This is not really the main subject matter, but I do have a video that I made on YouTube that's about using hardware-based two-factor authentication. So you can use this or not use this. I'm going to show you, how we're going to use two-factor authentication in a way that can benefit you. You don't have to get this. It's convenient for me because of my particular use. It doesn't have to be necessary for you to spend money on this necessarily, but it's handy. It's much faster than doing it some alternate ways. But it's okay if you don't have it. So YouTube post about guarding your privacy. How ironic. Anyway, we are going to we talk about something called two-factor authentication. And two-factor authentication is, let me just introduce it first before we dig into the depths of this, because this is going to be interesting. Two-factor authentication is being required of each and every one of you. If you are on, for example, on Twitter, it requires that of you. Sometimes when you log into Periscope, it actually requires that of you. YouTube suggests that you do two-factor authentication. Facebook has been requiring, hello Llama. Facebook has been requiring two-factor authentication for a while now. In fact, because I refuse to do two-factor authentication with Facebook on my test accounts, they basically terminated my test accounts, and I've been studying this. And one of the things that I had to do, hello C Social, welcome back. I haven't seen you in a while. One thing that I had to do this broadcast today is do a lot of testing. Let me just tell you, I bought this hardware device here, this hardware 2FA. And plus I did a lot of testing, and this was very difficult to figure out There's a lot of testing to understand what's going on, and I'll be able to explain it to you. You can ask me questions because some people will hesitate to do two-factor authentication if you don't understand what it entails, and it's and all the difficulties because you're afraid that you may get shut out of an app, or if you make a mistake, you can get shut out of an app, and you don't want that to happen. So I'm going to teach you what I did, and then see if that can benefit you. And what we're going to talk about tonight is how the current way of Facebook authentication, not Facebook, I mean, the current way of two-factor authentication is done by phone number, meaning texting. That's the primary way it works on Periscope. It's the primary way it's done on Twitter, Facebook, and all of these places. It's done by texting, okay? So what I'm going to teach you tonight is actually very specific. We're going to teach you how to do two-factor authentication without giving them your phone number. So this is a really tricky subject matter here. How do you do two-factor authentication without giving them your phone number? Very difficult actually to do. Okay, so but I'm going to tell you, I did it, and not completely, but I did it to an extent, and then you will hear. Now let me explain to you why I don't like two-factor authentication with phone numbers. This is a very important thing to understand here. What happened is, if you gave your phone number to Facebook for two-factor authentication, they just sold your identity. They just sold that combination of your phone number and name to advertisers. That's all been in the news. That's how zucked up Zuck is. He actually sold that data, which tells me that I don't want to ever go on two-factor authentication because using phone numbers, because I don't know if I can trust that the person I gave the phone number to will keep it private. They do not. Okay, let me just tell you some other negative with two-factor authentication when it comes to using phone numbers. The other disadvantage, folks, is that the phone numbers are used to match your identity on different social media. For example, let's say that you're on Instagram. Now, Instagram is owned by Zuck, as well as Zuckbook and WhatsApp. Well, WhatsApp requires you to log in by a phone number. Telegram requires you to log in by a phone number. Signal, even all the secure apps are using phone numbers as your identity. Now, can you imagine how tainted that is when you log in with your identity being your phone number, supposedly to be secure and secret, and then it turns out that phone number is matched to your real name on Zuckbook? What have you just accomplished there? You basically just threw away your pseudo anonymity. Pseudo anonymity does not exist in the current method of 2FA. This is why I've been waiting for a solution to get this done and kind of a workflow. And some of it required some testing. I didn't want to go and tell you about it until I actually tried it myself. So I'm going to tell you that, yes, today I did spend the time trying it out, and not today, but this whole week. And I did it with a combination of things. And one of the things I used to prevent using my phone number as a two-factor authentication is to come up with various solutions, and one of them includes this device. Let me show you how shiny it is, because you can see the reflection on my sweater here. Okay, this is a tiny USB thing called a YubiKey. This is probably the most popular brand, and see if you can see that close up. YubiKey. Okay, and it's called the YubiKey Nano. It's the smallest one. This is a USB-A contraption, and I have it on a little thing here so I don't lose it. Okay, YubiKey is spelled. It's in my video on YouTube. By the way, Eagle Source, I just released a new version of Brax for Android. Could you check it out and see if it solves the problem for you? I was able to find out what the error was on people on Android and Brax. And so yesterday I released a version of Android. Hopefully that will solve that. So please give me a report and see if it solves it or not. Those people who are using Brax on Android, uh, just please try it out. Also, there's a new version of Brax for iOS that is just a minor change. Was to do multi-select on my files. Okay, for doing multi-select on my files. So I just wanted to do multi-select the photos, move it to my files, and keep it in its original form. And I found out it wasn't doing multi-select, so I said this is zucked up, so I fixed it. So now it will do my multi-select. So that has been fixed. Okay, that has been fixed. So go check that out on the App Store. Okay, so if you have Android and iOS, there's two versions for that, and it's all ready. Okay. Anyway, so what I did this week is say, and I'm trying to tell you what my goal was with using two-factor authentication. I said, can I do two-factor authentication without giving out my phone number? So I tried it on the following platforms, and I'll go to the process here. I tried it on Twitter. I tried it on Amazon. I tried it on Google, Amazon AWS. I'm not on too much social media, so mostly on some. Let's see, what else did I try it on? Those are the major ones that I tried it on, and then was my objective. Could I do it without using revealing my phone number in case they sell that? Well, I couldn't do it. I didn't do it completely because Google already knew my phone number. So I didn't do it completely. So I left Google alone. But if I wanted to change that, I will tell you how you can change that. It's just more costly. You got to get another phone and use it for that. But we'll talk about that in a second here. So anyway, this is kind of neat because some of you don't care and you're saying, well, two-factor authentication, big deal with my phone number. I'm trying to tell you, they are going to match your phone number with your name and sell that. Okay, and you're going to get a lot more phishing calls because they're going to call you up by name and say, hello, custodian survey on 111-222-3333. We're calling you about, because they know your name. They can pre-dox you on the internet before they make the call. This is not a safe thing. So hi there. So you do not want to give out your basic phone number to everyone in social media so they can match it. So Instagram can easily match you to your full name, real name, Facebook account, and it can easily match you to your WhatsApp account, can even match what you're doing on Telegram. So some of you are saying, well, I use WhatsApp for security. Zuck you, your contact lists are now matching you by phone numbers. So you're actually all connected. So there's no zucking secret on WhatsApp. Okay, that's a zucked up solution. Well, we encrypt the body. It's like, zuck you. What, encrypting what? Okay, if you know everybody's movements, you don't need to see the body of the conversation. You know that there's some special conversation going on between certain parties. So that's something to think about. So if some of you are thinking, oh, I'm going to have an affair and I'm going to use WhatsApp for that, zuck you. You've just been zucked. You've just been zucked. Okay? And part of the reason for the zucking is the use of a phone number in apps like WhatsApp, Signal, and all this, and now used also for two-factor authentication on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, on and on and on, Tinder, all of that. Yeah. By the way, on Tinder, they were publicizing your HIV status. That was on Tinder. Another zucked up thing. Okay? Can you imagine that? You go on Tinder and they actually use your real name and then they publicize what your HIV status is. It's like, not that we care what the, obviously, probably everyone on there will have an HIV status of okay or whatever they call it. But the fact is, it's obviously identifying you and your leanings on the internet. So, hello, Starlight. I heard about the story. That's so depressing and disgusting to hear that. Use Rob Brax on my Tinder. Make sure you use my photos. So, go complete on the disinformation. And make sure you use your IP address. Okay? By the way, I discovered something really interesting about my IP address. So I told you that I'm a little bit more cautious than average, and I'm very concerned about how my IP address is leaked out on the internet, and what it's used for, and what traces of me are out there on the internet. So I actually connected to the Skyhook database to see if they can find me within 6 zucking feet on Skyhook. And Skyhook uses your presence on the internet from apps and so on, the commercial aggregators, wherever they see that IP address, it's aggregated and stored and sent to Skyhook. And I just found out from my own checking that my IP address is not recorded to be anywhere other than my ISP. It's actually not recorded to be within 6 zucking feet. And that's because I've been very careful with VPNs and so on, and putting VPN routers so that even now that my guests won't accidentally, connect their activities to mine, without a VPN. So that's very, very good news that I found out, because that's been worrying me for a long time. Now, Google still knows where I am, but at least Skyhook apparently does not. So that's good. That's good to know. So anyway, get the VPN router. I don't have one on here, but get a VPN router so your guests don't trap you into exposing your IP address. So that's something that you should think about. Anyway, when it's warm, blacker privilege. Google is the matrix. Anyway, so my goal was to see if you can do two-factor authentication without using a phone number. Now that was a challenge, and so I said, how do you do this? So I thought about things like burner phones. I do have several other phones, and I do have burner SIM cards. I have a stack of SIM cards. I have at least a dozen SIM cards, so I can change phone number every month. Okay, I have a stack of SIM cards. That's some of the things that I'm ready to do. And I said, do I need to do two-factor authentication with a different set of SIM cards for every single app? And I thought about that, and I said, Zuck, that is just too much work. Okay. Hello, John. So I said, do I do that? So, because that's, in theory, that's somebody from Facebook, one of the employees of Facebook actually suggested that. He buys a stack of phones, like flip phones from the store, and he puts a different SIM card on each, burner phones. And I said, what are you really accomplishing with that? And, you have to pay the subscription. And if you're going to use it for two-factor authentication, it has to be ready when you're doing two-factor to have it available. What are you going to do? Have a stack of phones next to you? Are you going to have 5, 6 phones around you just because you need one for Facebook, you need one for this? Not going to work. So I said, that is not the answer. Do not get a stack of burner phones. It's not going to solve the problem of two-factor authentication. Okay? So I said, how do we do this? So what I did, let's start with Twitter first. Okay, so Twitter requires that in order to do two-factor authentication on Twitter, they require that you start off first with a phone number. You can't even go to the next step. So this is what you do on Twitter. Now, why is this important on Twitter? Because why is it important to do 2FA, two-factor authentication? Why do we even care? Because some of you will just not care. It's like, who cares? I'm going to use two-factor. I won't follow two-factor. I don't need to do two-factor authentication. And yes, you don't. In theory, you don't. If you lose your account, it's not that important to you. Then it's. I guess it may not matter. But let's say you're a broadcaster and you have a significant following here on Periscope or Twitter. You probably don't want to lose that following when somebody hacks you. Okay? You probably want to protect somebody hacking your account and taking over. As somebody did and complained to me that somebody actually did get their Twitter account hacked, and it's too late to try to fix it after you get hacked. You can't do that. With everything I teach you here, I know I'm very boring to many of you because what I teach you is a prevention thing. I cannot fix it for you after the fact. Once you're hacked, you're hacked. Okay? And then you may not be able to recover your account back if that person changes the password and email. You're zucked. And then you're going to have to argue with Twitter and so on, and that may take a while, and they may not agree with you. And I had this person who had that problem, and then they never got it resolved, and they had a significant following, and so the account was basically lost. So you just wasted your time. Is that what you want to do? You got, I have 6,000 followers almost 7,000 followers on Twitter, and that would be zucked up if I lose the account, right? Well, I have 30-some thousand followers on Periscope, which is going down every day. I don't know why. Some of you could explain this to me. Why our followers on Periscope is going down every day? But yes, it is going down. I'm, lost another 5 today. It's like yesterday it gained some, and then today it lost another 5. It's like, what the heck is happening? I already lost like 2,000 something. Hello, Hoodoos. I already lost some 2,000 something names on there, and now I lost 5 more. Anyway, so when you set up your Twitter account, maybe deleting account. Well, obviously, but I'd like to know if it's just me or all of you experiencing this. I thought they did it at once. I guess it's a constant purge. Maybe when they suspend or remove someone, they actually delete it from your list. This is important. Yes, John, a lot of people don't think it's very interesting, okay? People already think I'm strange walking around with 2 phones, so I guess a whole stack of burners won't hurt. Okay. Really, Lama? As they ignore accounts who have 50K followers. So anyway, so how do you give them phone number? And I didn't want to give them my real phone number, not to Twitter. So I said, so how do I do this? I already told you the problem with Facebook. I gave, if you give your phone number, I did not, but those of you who gave your phone number to Facebook, you're zucked. You can't undo that. You can't undo that. Once you've given Facebook your phone number, then you're zucked. They're not going to take it back and say, oh, well, we can forget your old phone number. We're going to do that. Yeah, right. Okay. So figure that if Facebook because you weren't watching me and you weren't paying attention to what I'm saying, if you gave your phone number to Facebook, then Zuck just zucked you. So move on. They just zucked you. Okay? Next time, pay attention to me. Okay, so solution number 1 was to get a phone number to start out with verification on Twitter and all those other platforms I mentioned, including Amazon and I used it on everyone. I even used it on Google. And this is what I did, guys. I set up a Google Voice account. Do you know what Google Voice is? Anyone know what Google Voice is? So Google Voice allows you to receive calls through Google Voice, which is attached to your email address. So anyone with an email account, anyone with a Gmail can use Google Voice. Now, I didn't really know if Google Voice would work for two-factor authentication. I had to test that. I had to test it. So I'm going to tell you that it worked. I was able to use, and I'm going to tell you the little things I had to do as well. But it worked, and this is the way my own setup is, okay? My Google Voice account is attached to an email address that is the same as my YouTube address, and it's not my name. It's not my name. Okay, it's a business account type name. In fact, it's just a tech support email address. That's what I use. So that's for YouTube and for all of Google. So let's start out with Google then, because this is kind of the basis for everything else that I did. So I started with Google, and I set up a Google Voice account, and they give you a phone number in your area. So you ask, it will ask you what area code is available for you, and they'll give you a phone number for that for free. And this is free. I haven't paid a dime to Google Voice. And then I was wondering if Google itself would accept Google Voice as two-factor authentication. This is the first question. And lo and behold, it does. This is really funny. Google accepts Google Voice as two-factor authentication. Okay, for those of you who don't know what Google Voice is, all you have to do is go to voice.google.com and log into your email address that you use for Gmail, and that will then allow you to set up your Google Voice. Okay? Now, that is then the number that you use for two-factor authentication with everything, including with Google. Okay? This is kind of a base thing because, they don't even allow you to use even hardware authentication until you put in your alternate two-factor, which is the phone. Okay? So when you set up the phone, they ask you, well, how do you want to get notifications about Google Voice? So there's a couple of options here. One is you can forward the Google Voice. You can forward the Google Voice transactions or phone calls and so on to your real phone. So this is easy to do. So let's say you have a real phone. Google will have to know that real phone, and then you forward it to that phone. And the question is that you want to ask yourself is, does it forward text messages? Does it forward text messages? No. It forwards voice calls. It does not forward text messages, although it may give you a notification that there's a text message. That's kind of a negative until you figure out what to do here. Okay? So what you do, this is what you do with Google Voice. You set up your Google Voice, and then you install Google Voice app on your phone. Okay, think about this. We're talking about this. Using Google Voice, capturing voice print when sending it up, still being zucked. I only use it for receiving calls. You don't have to use it for anything. No, that's not true. Google Voice doesn't have to zuck you for anything because it depends on what you use it for. I'm using it for two-factor authentication. I'm not even talking on it. Okay, so this is what I do with it. I use the phone number given to me by Google Voice. Then I go to the Google Voice app, and then that will then give me the notification, which gives me the text. I'm using it mostly for texting. That's the main thing it will serve. It's because it's used for two-factor authentication. What you're really looking for is to get the text message. Right? That's really the only purpose. Well, Google gives you a secondary option, either a text message or they give you a okay. If you install Google app itself on your phone, it won't even necessarily ask you for, at least with Google, you can just hit okay. Okay, you don't even have to type out the code. Makes it a lot simpler. Okay, so again, this is to repeat the process here. So you go install Google Voice on your phone, and then set up a Google Voice account, and then use that for two-factor authentication. It will give you a text message on Google Voice to your phone, and if you are not able to look at your phone like that, it's easy. Go to a computer and go to Google Voice, log into Google Voice, and you can see the text message on Google Voice itself. Okay, so I'm not using this for actual voice. Well, I am in this case. Actually, I use Google Voice to accept messages, for my phone. I don't answer phones directly. Everything goes to Google Voice, and I don't answer the phone directly. Once it forwards the phone call to me, then Google Voice is no longer involved with it. But only for two-factor authentication purposes. That's all you really need for is to get the texting. So the question is, does it actually work? Do you ever have a problem with you not being able to respond or see the text message for two-factor authentication when you're using Google Voice? This is a big question, because if this fails, you can't use it and you'll be locked out of your account. Okay? So I have tested this on Twitter, Amazon, Google. What else? I can't use it on Periscope because my account number in Periscope is tied to my phone number. I forget what other social media. I don't have much social media, so I was using it for non-social media things and whatever accounts I had, and I was able to set up my second factor authentication to be Google Voice. None of them had a problem. Okay, and it was very easy because when I get a Google Voice text, it shows up as a notification on my phone, and I can easily see what the code is. And it pops up for me, and I can see what the code is. I can type out the code, and two-factor authentication is handled. Okay, so this works, people. This works. What I thought voice, I kept getting spam. When I had Google Voice, I kept getting spam voicemail. Well, this depends on where you use the phone number on. You can always change the phone number. Have it change the phone number on Google Voice. Maybe, you gave it too many people. You got to really think this out, guys. You have to say, this is like, who do you give your emails to? Who do you give your identity to? You have to think this out. You have to think this out. Back when Periscope first started, it was only, it was either set up a Twitter account, which I didn't want to do because it would identify me on Twitter using my normal Twitter account, or set up a phone number. So at the time I said, okay, I didn't have a choice. I was going to use phone number. And then, then I got popular on Periscope, and then it's too late. Now what? I thought maybe at some point they can reverse it and allow me to use some other login to Periscope. But to this day, 4 years later, they haven't made a solution to do that. So Google Voice is now my main primary 2FA for getting text messages. That has now removed the primary phone number from all the records of all of my social media. So no more main phone number on social media. So that's step one. Okay? Now, how do you remove the phone number from Google? This is where you may need one burner phone if you want to do it like that. Okay? You may need one burner phone to do this, and this is how you would do it. If you want to set up Google Voice to forward to the burner phone and then have the burner phone forward it to your normal phone number. Okay, again, this is only used for two-factor authentication, so you're not actually can expect lots of traffic here. This is very, very minimal cost using something called like Ting.com. With a SIM card on Ting.com, very, very minimal cost. This is $10 a month, maybe $9 a month. And if you're going to use it only for 2FA, that may be the only cost you have it for. Have with that. And then you can use it for other things that, as an alternate phone later on. But for 2FA, this is the way you're going to completely eliminate your main phone number from social media. It does not work with Facebook. Facebook already got your Zucking phone number. They're not going to give it up. They know you're trying to trick them. Okay, they already matched your name to that phone number. You may want to change your phone number to destroy their record. That is the only way you would solve this for Facebook, is to change your Zucking phone number. Unfortunately, I like my phone number. It's easy to remember, and so I don't want to change my phone number. So I happen to have a good number, so I'm kind of zucked. Hello, Kelp. What is that? Freeze a what? Freezeverification.com. What is that twist mint? Hey, Karen. How are you doing, Karen? I already played the piano, Karen. I did at the beginning of the video, so you can watch it on the replay. I played the Anonymous theme song. Okay, so first way to do two-factor authentication is to set up the phone number. So we handle that. Now that's still pretty inconvenient. My old number was horrible, called from old owner, shady business. Yeah, so fortunately you can easily change the phone number. Now what I'm going to talk to you today is about making the two-factor authentication a little smoother, because it is kind of tedious, because you have to punch in a bunch of numbers, and sometimes the phone isn't handy and so on, and you need to have some alternate solutions, and I'm going to give you some other tips. So one of the tips that I'm going to give you is to use a hardware 2FA. So this is the UB key, which is in my video. Okay. Hello, Betty. Hello, Trucker Life. Okay, this is the 2FA that's in my video. This is a UB key nano. So you find the video. And I can see those big wind. Can you cross a bridge with those wind power machines, Trucker Life? Will you be able to cross a bridge? So, yeah, why do you need gasoline? Why do you need gasoline, Trucker Life? Just put a fan on your truck. See, you're moving anyway, so you can use the fan to generate electricity. That'll be self-powered. So why do we need gas for anything? All you have to do is put a fan in, and as you drive, the fan drives the car, and then it just keeps going by itself, like perpetual motion. Zuck. So Doug just put his phone number on here? Is that what you did, Doug? Did you just put in your phone number? Okay, so anyway, I made it so that 2FA is convenient, and I'm going to tell you all the little tricks that I did. It's a 30-digit password, stronger than a 12-digit deal with all the bells and whistles. No, for fixed password, I told you that online even 8 is good enough, and for offline 15 is good enough. Okay, Fred Flintstone was ahead of his time. Yep. Okay, so anyway, so we solved the problem with the phone number by using Google Voice. So the next thing that you can do now is say, well, I need alternate authentication schemes on each one of these devices. So when you go to Twitter, they give you the option for a hardware security key. So again, I use this. So this is a UB key. Okay, and it uses something called one-time password. Okay, this uses a one-time password. So, it's basically a mathematical thing to do with public keys and private keys, and you give it a secret that's known to the app and to you, because it's stored on the device, and then when you get prompted, this device here has a metal. You can't see it because it's so tiny, but the edge of it is metal. Okay, the edge of it. Let me turn it around. Okay, the edge of it that sticks out of the computer is metal. Okay, so when you tap on the metal, it actually gives a one-time password. So when I go to Twitter and Twitter says two-factor authentication, the usual way is you have to punch in the number that you got from Google Voice, which is really, really tedious. Okay, so who wants to use two-factor authentication with this kind of difficulty? It's so unproductive. Every time you log into Twitter, you got to go get your phone, and then it kicks out a number, and then you got to type the code in. Okay, because that's the usual way it's done. So what I'm trying to tell you is that in my case, I want to use that only as a backup. I don't want that to be the primary way of doing two-factor authentication. That is only a backup when I don't have any alternate way, such as if I lose this. If I lose this, then I can go to that method. But the way I have it set up, the way this works, is anytime it says, give me two-factor authentication, the only thing I have to do is touch the side of my computer where this is on the USB port. I just have to touch it like that. Poop. Then I'm in. No other extra keys, no other punching of any codes. Touch, I'm in. Okay, that is convenient on a computer. This is not the solution for a phone, but on a computer, you touch it, that's it. Two-factor authentication done. So for this reason, I said, oh, that's pretty cool. I can do two-factor authentication, anything I do on the computer, and it's going to work out. Okay, so that's that. Now, what about on a phone? On a phone, they have a different version of this that's a little bit bigger. This is a YubiKey. Okay? On a phone, they have something a little bit bigger, and it has something called NFC, Near Field Communications, NFC. Okay? What is NFC? You have to touch the device to the top of your phone. So when it says near field, you have to have this in your keychain or something, and you tap it like that, and that will be the two-factor. Okay? Now, is that convenient? If you're on the road, I guess your keychain will be available, and you can, if you attach this to your keychain, okay, that could work. But what if you're in bed? Do you have your keys next to you when you're sleeping? You see, this means that everywhere you go that you have your phone, you have to have the keychain with the hardware authenticator on it. And if you want to log into an app. Okay, and here's the other problem. Let's say you only have one, because you can only have one. You can't. So let's say you have the version that does near field and USB, like the one I have here. Okay, so you plug that into your computer. You're at work. You're at the office. This is being used on your computer, and you said, okay, it's plugged in the computer because I'm using the computer. I have to go to the bathroom, and then in the bathroom, I get a phone call and said, look at this app over here. There's something going on Twitter. And so you log into Twitter, and it's asking for a security key, and it's at the desk. Then you're like, fuck. Then you got to go run back now and go get this from the desk. So that's kind of, a problem operationally here. So in my mind, I don't really want to use this as a method for my phone. I'm okay with using Google Voice on the phone as the authentication and type in a few digits. I'm also okay with using a software version of this called Google Authenticator. This is really very productive on a computer. I'm not sure I need any more devices hanging out of my pocket or whatever for using a computer. Fortunately, you can use different things for different purposes. You can use one of these in a computer. Then you can use a software version called Google Authenticator, and there's some other things like that, Authy and so on, that you can use on a computer, and you still have Google Voice. So, meaning texting verification on Google Voice. So the texting verification Google Voice is pretty much the same as all of those other ones. I don't necessarily know why I need all those other options except for a backup. So on Google, on Twitter, sorry, let's start with Twitter. On Twitter, you can set up multiple two-factor authentication methods. On Twitter, you can use hardware like this. So I use this on the computer. Then on my phone, I use Google Voice for two-factor. And that way, I don't have to take this out. I don't need to use this for my phone. So I'm actually okay with this nano version, which is just for the computer. Okay, now I'm not suggesting you do this as an alternate, but this is the fastest way to do two-factor because all I have to do is tap it. That's it. Tap it. So if you're logging in and out of your computer, if your work requires so much logging in and out and you need to be more worried about security, you might find that you need to do two-factor, in which case consider using hardware. You don't find Twitter verified a good method of account. What does that have to do with, are you like Kelp? Are you like talking apples and oranges? Twitter verified has nothing to do with authentication. What does that have to do with anything? That's not a login verification. Okay? Twitter verification is a way to see if you're a real person with a real address and all the sucked up things that they need to know your real identity so they can go knock on your door and send the police to your house. So Kelp, why don't you get verified on Twitter so we know exactly who you are? Okay? So we know that Ron Waxman is verified, so we know he really is Ron Waxman. That's his name, and that's and you can check out his social security number and all that, because that's been verified with their phone number, home address, everything. That's what Twitter verification does. So to me, it is sucked up, and I will never be Twitter verified. Okay, I bought this from Amazon. There's a link on the video that I made. Okay, not necessarily suggesting this. This is for people like me that are like heavy on computer. If you're on a phone, your passwords are remembered most of the time, so it's not like you got to do two-factor every day. It's only when you log out. So if you have multiple accounts, as I do, I have many Twitter accounts. I have many Google accounts. And because I have to log in and out, it's always asking me for two-factor authentication. And that is very, very tedious. Okay? If you're on your phone with one account, two-factor authentication is not a big deal because you just get a phone number every once in a while. And Google Voice is fine with that. Again, think about what I just said here. I want to make sure you understand what I just said. I said if you use my method here, you do not have to give your phone number out to any social media site. If you didn't hear that in the first part of this video, go run the replay, okay? If you do this right, you do not need to give out your actual phone number, which is a very bad thing considering what they can do with it. It's going to use to match your identity. It's an index to your identity, okay? So if you use my method, you just have to set it up right, think about it, and you do not. I just gave you such a big privacy tool today, and a lot of you are probably not even understanding the effect of that. for the first time, you can do two-factor authentication without worrying about your phone number. Okay, hello, Deanna. Okay, I've never had Twitter ask for 2FA. Well, obviously, it's not going to ask you for 2FA. You have to tell it that you want to activate 2FA. 2FA is not turned on by default. Okay? 2FA is an option. If you don't want your account to be hacked, then you want to do 2FA. Why do you want 2FA, by the way? This is the question that some of you will need to ask yourself. Doug doesn't feel like he needs 2FA, and that's valid. The idea of 2FA is that someone can crack your account if they're a man in the middle. There's many ways to do man in the middle attacks, including being a man in the middle with HTTPS, which means someone can read your HTTPS. For example, if you go to the bank and you're typing in your bank username and password using keyloggers, rats, remote access trojans, and man-in-the-middle software from your corporation, somebody in your company can read your password. Okay? Let me repeat that again. Okay? Let's say you work for some big company. If you work from some big company, chances are they broke HTTPS. Okay? This is part of the security thing. Let's say you work for IBM. So do you think at IBM they're actually going to have real HTTPS while you're on their network? No. They can read what you put on HTTPS, including what you put on Facebook and what passwords you use in the bank. They can see that. So if I were a bad guy and I'm sniffing a network at work and I see, well, let me just check and see who's perhaps logging into the network, maybe on their phone, and checking out their bank account information, I could, in theory, capture their username and password through that network because I work in IT and I have a way of breaking the HTTPS on it because of fake certificates, which is how this is done. So nowadays, you cannot trust that HTTPS will actually hide your username and password. Somebody will see that. Two-factor authentication means even if they see that, they have to have a second way of identifying, which is going to beat, maybe 99% of the attacks by having two-factor. Okay? By having this as the second factor versus the computer, then I've created a second channel that the hacker cannot see, and they'd have to hack two things. For example, they'd have to hack texting as well as HTTPS. So in order to hack two things, it becomes geometrically more difficult to do that kind of hack. That's why it's not a minor thing to say if you need 2FA. Yes. The only problem that you and I had, many of us, is that they abused 2FA because the 2FA was requiring a phone number. So in the next week or so, I will change BraxMe to accept alternate ways of doing authentication for password recovery that does not use email. I can use Google Authenticator or this, but I'm going to start with Google Authenticator so you can do a software way of doing it. Again, without using a phone number. So I'll work on that next week. It's pretty easy to do. So I'll start integrating that just so that I support what I'm saying here. Now the phone numbers on Brax are not revealed. So some of you have phone numbers in there. You don't have to worry because I actually encrypt your phone numbers because in case somebody hacks the database, I don't want that to ever get hacked. So your phone numbers are never revealed, doesn't show anywhere. It's, obviously never leaves the database, and it's encrypted. So that's to prevent somebody from hacking that. I consider a phone number to be as important as a social security number, and I want to protect it as such. And so that's how I want to treat you with it. So I will I will start to implement some of these two-factor authentication things that goes beyond just the phone number that and email that uses now next week. Okay, so that's part of my plan. I want 2FA to protect my millions from MITM attacks. Yes, your Bitcoin. Yeah, if you have Bitcoin, your Bitcoin is going up in value in the last couple days. Your Bitcoin going up in value, so you probably thought your Bitcoin wasn't worth anything, and suddenly it gained like 20% overnight. It's like woo. So you better protect that now with two-factor authentication, right? So anyway, so this is using hardware solution. Now this is still the fastest way because this does not require anything other than tapping it. By the way, I found another use for this. It's in my video, and I found another use for this that was kind of interesting. So you can apparently set this up to also give out a fixed password. Okay, so if this becomes a physical key and then you carry it with you and wherever you go, this can give a fixed password, and this is how it works, guys. So again, this is a YubiKey 5 Nano. This is this model. So this is the way it works. If you tap it quickly like that, it gives out your one-time password that's used for two-factor authentication. So boom, that would be for two-factor. If you wanted to give out a fixed password, just hold it down. Okay? Like 2 to 5 seconds. And then after 5 seconds, then the password appears. 32-digit long password. I like YouTube on YubiKey. Okay, so let me just tell you how I simplified my life with this. So what I do with this then is I set up my password manager. I use KeePass right now. Many of you use LastPass. I used to use LastPass. So I use LastPass. I tested this with both LastPass and KeePass. And every time I log into my computer, it asks for the master key password, right? Then typically you have to type in your master key password. Well, now all I have to do is tap this. So single finger operation, I just tap this at the end like this, hold it for 5 seconds, and it logs me in to LastPass automatically. So then I don't have to remember all the other passwords. So basically I don't have to remember anything, because as long as I have this physical thing, touch it, puts out the same password, 32 digits, and then I'm done. Now, obviously that's kind of a problem, because if somebody touches this, then they'll see the password for 5 seconds. You can reset it though. You can reset the password. So what happened is, for me, this has proven to be a productivity tool, because since I don't even have to type in you have to remember where it is. It's plugged into your computer 99% of the time. And I put a little strap to it so I can attach it, take it with me if I leave. You can attach it to your keychain, okay? And if your computer is gonna do a if you're gonna use it for a master password, then you probably should, not leave it hanging around, because the password is on there by touch. So, but it's kind of handy for productivity. I'm using in my home. Maybe a Ring version coming. What is a Ring version, John? What is a Ring version? Like a ring like this? No, I just bought this attachment. I just bought this. This strap. So I just, I got a strap from. There's many different kind of straps. So I just got a strap from Amazon. you can do anything you want. You can do wrist, this, that. Yeah, you can attach it any way you want. But I just uh, decided to attach it by straps. Since it's going to be left on your computer, not on a ring. It has to be plugged in. It's not a ring, folks. You don't touch this on a device. It's plugged into the USB. It's a USB device. Do you see the USB contacts in there? Okay. It's a USB device. So it's plugged in the USB port at all times. I don't have a USB thing to show you here. Okay, so you plug it into USB and you leave it there. Okay, and then the only thing that sticks out is just that little metal portion. How do we know it isn't sharing who we have stored passwords with? How do we know it isn't sharing who we have stored password with? It's open source in any case. So that's how you know. It's based on I love carrying around a folder of passwords and keys. You can do that. I'm not suggesting you use this. This is just a convenience for me because it's just much faster. Because I just tap it. I have the benefit of doing the phone and using the code using Google Voice. I can still do that. So if I happen to misplace this or lose it, I'm not they are handy. I use several. You use several of these? Okay, now here's the problem with these guys. For one account, you can only use one of these. You can't create another copy of it. Okay? You can't create a copy of this and say, oh, let me have 3 of these and store it in various places around the house. You can't do that. Okay? That's the problem with this. This is why you have to use alternate means. Okay? 1 per account. No, you're not. I'm not. It's not concerning if you lose it. You just switch to Google Voice or to Google Authenticator. You wish your wife had a USB port in her body or what? Where do you want the USB port to be? You want to download information from your wife? Yeah. So, yeah, you don't really worry about losing this because if you lose it, you still have authentication some other means. Just buy a new one. Okay? You just buy a new one. So, some people said, oh, do I need to have several of these? If I lose one, then it's $50 a piece. $50 a piece. So, you're not going to do that. So, if somebody stole this from you, they'd have to have your username, your password, and this. So, it's not useful by itself. Okay? It's not going to, I don't think there's much danger, just by itself. You have to have all 3, issues combined or it's not going to be an issue. Okay? So, the other option, aside from using hardware, is to use Google Authenticator. Now, this is a little bit different because it's an app. So, for some of you that have, let's say, Binance requires you to do 2FA with Google Authenticator. That's the name of the product. Okay, and there's some other brands, but some companies use only Google Authenticator. So, Google Authenticator is an app that looks like that. Well, I guess you can't see that, but anyway, you download this. Let me just describe it to you since I can't show it. You download Google Authenticator app on your phone. It's a pretty ugly app. It doesn't really do anything. And when you go to a website that says we accept Google Authenticator, they're going to give you a QR code. So that's how they pass the information to Google Apps about the secret shared key that's going to be shared between you and the app. And it's going to be shared by a QR code. So what you have to do is run Google Authenticator, and then you have a plus sign. And when you hit that plus sign, it gives a camera And then in the camera, allows you to scan the barcode. Brax, Android 9. Did you download the new Android, Susie, Eve? I just released a new Android version. So test it out on the new download. The new Android does not open on 9. Because I was just guessing on what it is, okay? Okay, correct, okay. Why don't you make sure you report it on there, like that you had a problem, so then I can check the log and see what the error is. Because it's kind of a vague error that has to do with the the first image I just downloaded it on 8. It did not work. It did not work on 8 either. Okay. Well, it worked on my 9. This is why this is so frustrating. Okay, I'll check the error codes. It worked on 9. My 9. Okay. I have a Pixel. So it worked on my Pixel. Okay, one more thing to figure out. It's like I deleted the cache in my data for the apps. Okay, Eagle, I'll go back to the drawing board and figure out what it is. So it is kind of a the supposed problem is that the resolution of the screen and the startup image is not matching your screen size. So that's what I think it is. Vague errors. That's the story of your life. Yes. Okay. So anyway, I'll try again. It just takes a few hours to load a new version in, and then we can try again. So we'll try it again tomorrow. Okay. Well, no. Wait a minute. No, I'm not around tomorrow. I'm not around tomorrow. Yeah, I may not have time. Well, like I said, I do not use Brax on my phone. Okay, so either way, it's obviously not a problem on every single version of 8 and 9. Since I have 9, and it works fine. So it must be depending on the resolution of the model. Because that's the error. It has to do with, not loading the right image for your phone. You must have one of those brand new phones that have high density. And it's saying that I don't have an image for that. That's what it's saying. So, hello to Garen. Okay, so the Google Authenticator is an alternate way of doing it without hardware, and this is the way it works. You take when you go into let's say Twitter, and you say I'm gonna use Google Authenticator app. They will give you a QR code. You take a photo of the QR code using the Google Authenticator app, and then it will start giving out numbers, and you have to type the number that's shown on here. This is called time-based one-time password, meaning you have to type it in a timely manner, like 30 seconds. Okay? So that's how it works. It gives you about like 30 seconds to type out a number that's based on this, and they're matched by timestamp. So the app has a formula based on the current time. You have a formula based on the current time. As long as the both apps are synchronized in time, then they're able to match the numbers that you're going to punch in there. Okay, so Google Authenticator, is that any better than using Google Voice? Yeah, Garen, it depends on the tolerance of the many apps will cache the last 2 or 3 entries, and depends on how high the security is. They will let you plug it in a little late. So that's up to the app to determine that. For banking apps may say, well, you have to really punch it in within 30 seconds. And then a social media app may say, we don't really care. Punch it in. Within a minute, you're okay. So again, depends on the app decides if they're gonna cache some old numbers, like the last three numbers or last two numbers, with Authenticator. So, is this more convenient? Is this better than using Google Voice? Well, understand that when you use Google Voice, somebody has to see that code. It goes off the internet, and in theory, somebody can still intercept that, since it's being sent over the internet via texting. So if somebody wants to attack you using text-based Google authentication, it's possible. It's improbable because it's a little harder to do, because you have to have an insider using SS7. That's the particular hack here. You have to hack the texting network with SS7. So typically, you only hack one way. It's going to need like a more advanced player that can hack both. So I don't typically worry about it for normal use, but somebody in the encryption business like I am may have to be more concerned about it at a higher level, in which case this is more secure. This is very secure. This is more secure, or about as secure as can be, for two-factor authentication. Much more than texting. So texting should be more of a backup. So if you have a choice, you should set it for the following modes. Use hardware because it's faster. Use Google Authenticator because it's safer. If you don't have an option because you're not near any way of getting two-factor authentication easily, that's when you use texting. Okay? So texting should be the lowest rung, and if you are concerned about that, then I would say don't use it. So for many businesses, you may not want to use texting. You may only say Google Authenticator, or an authenticator software. Doesn't have to be Google, or hardware. Okay, so that's those are the options that you're going to get. Now, I know this is kind of a technical kind of broadcast, but it's Friday night and it's Adult Beverage Friday, and no one really cares. No one really comes watches me on Fridays anymore. Fridays used to be a big day for me, and I don't. My audience has changed, and the big day now is Saturday. So tomorrow, this weekend, I will change topics. So this topic of, and please ask me all the questions you want about two-factor authentication today. And hopefully you the biggest tip today was how to use this with Google Voice. That is an absolutely important tip. It's Saturday over there. So the Google Voice is an absolutely important point. But tomorrow will be a big topic that I'm going to start for the entire weekend. And I'll start it tomorrow, and we're going to talk about facial recognition. We're going to talk about facial recognition. Tomorrow we're going to talk about how facial recognition works. Okay? Then on Sunday, we will talk about the issues, the privacy issues and technical issues that have to do with facial recognition, the kelp kind of issues. That will be on Sunday. Tomorrow will be more about just the technical side of how facial recognition works and how you might be able to evade it if you can. For example, can you evade facial recognition with this? If you do this, does that evade facial recognition? If you wear sunglasses, if you have you tried it with the iPhone 10? Okay, so I am going to discuss how it works tomorrow, and then you can what are we all doing at home? Are you home on a Friday night? He was wearing a hat dusk mask. I mean, here in LA that we have cameras trapping our moves. There's cameras in traffic lights, cameras in every corner. In the UK, it's very, very dense number of cameras doing facial recognition. And the question is, how accurate is it? Is it really as accurate as they say it is? And when Ron Waxman and Beck Boop went to a soccer game in the UK, they actually were subjected to facial recognition at the soccer stadium, the Emirates soccer stadium, if I recall. So the question was that accurate enough for catching terrorists? Kelp wants to know, because Kelp thinks that this is very important. We subject ourselves. It's very important to subject ourselves to facial recognition, because Kelp says we'll catch some terrorists. So who cares about your zucking privacy? That's not important. We just want to catch some terrorists. So for Kelp's purposes, we're going to analyze tomorrow technically if it actually works or not, and how to evade it if we can, if it's possible. That's going to be tomorrow. I have found, by the way, for those of you who have read some articles on facial recognition, I will tell you that I have read many of those same articles, and my conclusion is that those journalists are all zucked up. They really had no great conception. Obviously, they didn't really believe in the subject matter, so their analysis of it was so cursory that I was like, "Do you really think this is it?" They didn't really get into the dangers of facial recognition in a big way. That would really dig into the true dangers, because I'm not sure they know. My conclusion is that they actually don't know. So I don't really care who's doing the facial recognition work. They're not going to know more than I do. I don't know why. I read them all and I said, wow, this is all they've got. So you're going to hear, when I talk about it, it'll be more than you've ever seen in any magazine or newspaper. I'm going to analyze it for you in a much bigger way. Okay? Just so we're clear on that. Facial is a machine learning domain. Did I lose? I thought I lost a connection on YouTube. Okay, looks like it's okay. But it stopped in my device here. So we will discuss that tomorrow, and some good news as well. I have I think by tonight I will be at 3.7K hours on YouTube. By the end of this weekend, I will be close to 4K hours. So I expect to reach 4K hours sometime in the middle of the week. That's what is projected right now. So I will be at 4K hours. So please watch my videos, especially now that I'm so close to 4K hours. That would hello Heidi. That would really be he's got yes. So thank you for supporting me on YouTube, and I'm kind of losing support on Periscope. It looks like, maybe because I don't pay attention as much, but actually I think what's happened on Periscope is that I've turned into the boring category because I don't do the call-ins. So if you look at the global list, you're in the global list if you have a call-in, and if you don't have a call-in, then nobody pays attention to you. So that's kind of frustrating looking at Periscope numbers, because They basically changed Periscope on me, and now Periscope doesn't consider me as interesting as it was. Periscope people, because of the change in the way they've handled the call-ins. So because I don't do call-ins, because my show is on multiple platforms here, I can't do call-ins because I'm not just on Periscope. Then I guess I'm zucked. I really don't like the call-ins. Well, apparently that fixed Brax app on my Android. What does that mean, Eagle Source? How did you fix the Brax app on your Android? What does that mean? Does YubiKey work with Firefox? No, it's not. It's not a. What you're talking about is you changed the resolution. How interesting. Okay, so it is resolution based. Okay. Can you tell me what the old resolution was and the new one? Then I can compare. Tell me what the old one and the new one is. YubiKey uses a different standard for browsers. We're not talking about that yet. Okay? We're not talking about that yet. What we're talking about is something called one-time passwords. The standard you're referring to for Firefox, which is not supported by Firefox, is called FIDO2. FIDO2 is not yet supported by Firefox. That's why very few places do FIDO2. In the future, perhaps later in the year, browsers, every app, every browser can accept this as a password using FIDO2. It may mean that we do not have to type in to log in. That could be sometime this year. It only works on Chrome right now, which is why it's not very well used yet. It's got to be supported by all the browsers. So it only works in Chrome right now. It's called FIDO2, and it's not really all that much implemented yet. So FIDO2 is not really there yet. So I'm not even talking about that. I'm using a technique called FIDO or OTP, one-time password, or timed OTP, one-time password. Okay? I will wait for it. Well, this device supports all of the above. So if you get this right now, YubiKey supports all the standards. Middle finger passwords rock. What is a middle finger key password? ZOCU? Is that like saying ZOCU? I really don't like. So anyway. So I changed the display size and font size from large to default and now Bazinga. Okay, so did you hear that, Susie Eve? Can you do that on yours as well? Susie Eve, if you're still here, change your which model. So I'm using the Nano because I'm finding that I'm not likely to go unplug this and use this on the phone at the same time. So I find that impractical. So on the phone, I'm going to use Google Authenticator because it's less reason for me, because mostly just social media apps. So there's no, and it remembers the passwords most of the time. So I don't have to do authentication frequently on my phone, but I really have to do it a lot. 5, don't get anything 4, Garen. YubiKey 4 is no longer an acceptable standard. So no 4. Only YubiKey 5. Forget about 4. 4, if you have some limited use for it with some company, then you might want to use 4. But for the future, if you want FIDO2, then you're going to need 5. YubiKey 5. Okay, so in my case, I want to plug it into the computer and just leave it there all day while I'm using it. So for that reason, I don't really want the NFC, because the NFC one is bigger, like this big, and you're gonna hit it. It's gonna break. This one isn't exposed, so it doesn't break. It pretty much goes into the slot and then disappears. You can't see it. You see a little light and then a little bit of metal sticking out. So this is not going to snag on anything. So this is my preference. You don't on iPads you do NFC. So because either you do NFC, an NFC version of this, which I don't want to use. So on iPad you use Google Authenticator. For my own use, I don't find that I need to. Yeah, NFC for iPad, but I don't even want to do that. I want to just use Google Authenticator. I'm going to tell you some yeah, I told you about LastPass. So this does not work as 2FA, two-factor authentication, on LastPass unless you have the paid version. On the free version of LastPass, you can't use it. But I don't need it to use it for that. You know what I use it for in LastPass and KeePass? I use it as a static password. So what I do is when I log into LastPass or KeePass, I use KeePass. I just touch it for 5 seconds and it spits out the same master password. Well, you have to configure it, but that's what I configured it for. I touch it for 5 seconds. It gives out the same master password that's 32 digits long. And I use that for my master password for LastPass or KeePass. I tested on both. Okay, so that makes it convenient then to do all the passwords, since all you have to do is touch that and then a single login. Okay, then all of my passwords are available. Then I can put a short-term timer on the LastPass because I don't have to have it remember for long periods. Because many of you probably leave it to, until you close the browser. Well, because you have this, you can actually leave it for short term and say, forget it in like an hour. Don't get the app. Why did you get the app Power? Don't get that. That's an older version, Susie Eve. Don't get the app Power. Does Power work for you? Does Susie Eve, does Power work? Okay, I'll compare the two. I never liked those password databases years ago. The password were the data file on a PC. They're encrypted on your PC, so I'm not concerned about that. I use KeePass, which is open source. So the password database is stored on my computer using KeePass and it's open source. Why don't you like NFC for that? Because you can only have one key. Hey, one. You have to use it for both the computer and the iPad. Let me tell you the problem. Hey, this one is USB-A. Hey. Okay? If you have a Mac, you have to use USB-C on the new Macs. If you have a phone, you need to use NFC. Well, the NFC version comes only with USB-A. The USB-C version does not have NFC. So what the fuck are you going to do? So you can't have one device. So I said, "Doc, that. I'm going to use Google Authenticator where I don't have this." So I'm just going to use every one of the websites I just talked about allows you to have both a hardware authenticator and a Google authenticator. They all allowed it. Okay? So you don't need the hardware all the time. You can just use Google Authenticator when you don't have the hardware. In all cases, I found that to be the case. So which means I can just leave this plugged in. Because it's a problem, compatibility. I mean, you can only have one. You can't have like 2 or 3 versions of this running around. Because they all have they're not identical. If you register one to an app, if you lose it, you go Google Authenticator. It doesn't matter. It's not going to kill you. Except you lose $50. Okay? It is $50. So if you don't want to waste your money, then you don't want to lose it. But if you're that's why I put, because it's so tiny, that's why I put this in here. This is not a KeePass. This is a YubiKey. Watch the video, hey. Watch the video. YubiKey 5. YubiKey 5. See how tiny it is. Again, if you have my experience here, you will realize that you can only really use this as a convenience on one main device. In my case, I decided it's going to be my Windows computer. It's just not convenient to transfer the device from device to device. It's not convenient. You're going to have a hard time trying to coordinate that. Okay, so I don't recommend it. So, since you're allowed to have two different kinds of authentication at all times, meaning Google Authenticator and this, then you can use an alternate authentication on other devices and use the hardware on the one that you use the most. So in my case, I use this for Windows. That makes sense? Safer password remembers and prompts even when I answer never. Do not Safari, not safer. Okay. Authy is not supported by all, so a different standard. So let's say you go to Binance, they say Google Authenticator only. So it depends on the some companies support multiple authenticators, some only support Authy, some only support Google Authenticator, some only support Amazon MFA. It's so all of them seem to run Google Authenticator. So for more compatibility, I found that Google Authenticator is at the moment the more used one. So rather than create multiple ones, I have Authy as well, but I use Google Authenticator since it's the most accepted. And at some point, they'll all be cross-compatible, but at the moment they're not. Okay? So do not use password storage on any browser. Do not use stored passwords on any browser. That is totally zocked up. Okay? I don't know how many times I've forgotten to say this, so I'll repeat it again. Do not erase it. If you're doing it right now on Chrome, on Safari, on Firefox, erase the passwords and lock it out. Don't ever use that. That is so zocked up. I don't know. Do I need to repeat the story of my cousin that went to my house and said, "Can I borrow your computer?" He goes, borrows my computer. I have it set to store the passwords. He leaves, and then I go check out his E-Trade and see what stocks he's trading. And it's like, don't ever turn that on in a browser. Do not. Okay, I always have that turned off. I do not have it store addresses, nothing. Use a password manager. Now, the easiest one to use is definitely LastPass. LastPass is definitely the easiest to use. So if you're concerned about ease of use, then it's LastPass. If you're concerned about open source to make sure that no one's actually stealing it, then I use KeePass. Okay, KeePass is very difficult to use. I'll be honest. It is not easy to use. But at least I don't have to worry about someone taking the passwords. I use KeePass. Two-factor list sites that accept two. If that doesn't mean anything, hey. So the reason that doesn't mean anything, hey, is because what exactly does that mean? So what you want are, and Twitter is doing a good job here. So Twitter accepts, I think Facebook does as well, accepts multiple factors at the same time. So on Twitter, I can simultaneously have phone texting verification, which is the least secure, and I use Google Voice, like I said. Then next is Google Authenticator. So they use Google Authenticator, and then they use hardware. Because I have access to 3 authentication device methods, I don't have to worry about losing anything because I have 3 ways of doing it. Okay? 3 ways of doing it. I believe Facebook has the same. Don't ever give them their phone number. If you ever, if you've already given them your phone number, then you're already zucked. I suggest you change your phone number because they already sold that phone number. They already sold it. Okay? I suggest you get a different phone. I know it's inconvenient, but that's what happens. They zuck you up. So again, I don't need to use a hardware on everything because in fact, all of them that I've used, in my case, I use Amazon, Google, Twitter, and some, AWS and all that. They accepted multiple 2FA methods. Correct, hey, that's why Google Voice. I tested that, hey. If you came in early, then you would have seen that part of my scope. Again, to summarize for you guys, yes, if you need to do two-factor authentication, you always need a phone number. The solution is set up a Google Voice and then put a Google Voice app on your phone, and you will get the text. And it works flawlessly. And I get the notification just as easily as I get with texting. It works just fine. So Google Voice, set up on your email, Gmail that doesn't have your real name on it, and forward and then install the Google Voice app. You're only using it for two-factor authentication text messages. You don't have to trust it. Suck. That's all you're using it for. Radio Conexia Brazil. We use Google Voice for Business. How zuck up is that? I use Google Voice for Business too, Garen. It's better than giving them my phone number. What is better? Give them your phone number or use Google Voice? So I use Google Voice for Business as well. Because I put the phone number on the website. If you call the website, you go to Google Voice. I don't answer the phone. No one will answer it. So if you think you're going to get answered, no. It goes to Google Voice. But for what I need to, you can do voice calls over it and it will forward the voice calls. But that's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about two-factor authentication. For two-factor authentication only, it's very limited use, and it's perfect. Works great. I don't have to give them my phone number. Okay? If you want to actually give calls, you got to go forward the calls to your phone. Google Voice has the ability to record and it does, hey? We're talking about two-factor authentication with just a bunch of texting numbers. That's all it's supposed to do if you're going to use it the way I'm saying it. Okay? For my purposes, for two-factor, all you're doing is saying, if somebody says, may get what? The two-factor? Yes, that's why it's only a backup. Hey, it's a backup. You use Google Authenticator instead. It's only a backup. You use Google Authenticator. Do you understand? I want to make sure I'm teaching you this right. You set up Google Voice instead of giving it. What is the other option? Hey, you have to give them phone number. So what do? Are you going to give them your real phone number? You don't want to give them your real phone number. So you give a Google Voice number, and you're going to use it for a very simple purpose, which is just two-factor authentication. And it's only as a backup because you're using Google Authenticator otherwise or hardware, like I do. So use all three. As long as the website supports all three, you're in good shape. So like I said, I found out that all the ones I use support all three. So that's the good news. Like Dropbox and so on, they all do the same. I tried Pseudo number, but didn't work. What is a Pseudo number? I don't know what that means. How did we get to Pseudo? Is this Linux command line? Or is that a brand? I don't know what Pseudo is. Google Voice works perfectly. It accepts the text. I don't lose the text. I get it. So, a free texting device, I don't have to pay for it. It's awesome. And for the limited purpose I'm giving you here, it works. You do not need any burner phone number. You don't need, this is so simple. Why would I need to have another burner phone number when you can just get if you want to link it to a real phone number, link it to a SIM card with a real phone number for occasional use, and then have it forward the number if you really care to. But for the purposes I'm using it for, you'll never actually need the phone number. You never need to receive the call. So set up a SIM card and take the call and forget it. I use ting.com, and I believe for the minimal use for password thing like this would be I think $9 a month for just using it for texting, and less than 100 a month. Yeah, just $9. If you're gonna do a lot of texting, I believe it's $13 a month. And you don't use the voice. You can use the voice, but you don't need to use data. There's no need for that. So it's better than a burner phone. I don't know what a burner phone is supposed to do. I'm going to do a scope about that because burner phones are kind of useless. I don't understand how a burner phone is supposed to help you. Didn't I just say that? Hey, that's exactly what you're trying to protect. That's why you do not want to use a real phone number. That's why I use Google Voice. That's why I use Google Voice. So I don't want to have any other app knowing anything other than a Google phone number. And they can have it all they want. I mean, it doesn't mean anything to them. It's just a Google phone number. Now, again, you can connect the Google Voice itself to a SIM card that's not your regular phone number if you want to do it like that. But for the limited use here, you don't even actually have to take a call because you're only receiving text, which you will see on the Google app, Google Voice app. So you don't even need, for the limited purpose here, you don't need to put in your main phone number. Now I do, I link it to my office phone number because it actually is used for business in my case. But if you don't want to do that, you don't have to do that. I'm too cheap to get another SIM card. Yeah, so you're going to go pay for a burner app? They charge the same amount of money. So I don't know. If you're going to get a burner app, then, and then somebody knows what it is because it's on your phone. So I think my method is just fine. In my case, Google already knows the phone number because it's my business line. So okay, so one party knows it. Nobody else knows it. If I think that's a problem, I will set up a different phone number. For the moment, I personally don't need to worry because it's a business phone number anyway. When it calls forward, does Google get a voice transcribing? Yes, it does, Karen. It does transcribe the voice when you forward, but it transcribes only if it's voicemail. Sorry, if it's voicemail, it transcribes. If it's not voicemail, it does not transcribe. Okay, so transcription only happens with voicemail. But in my case, like I said, using it only for getting two-factor authentication, there's really nothing of any importance there. Because my real name isn't on the email. There really isn't anything there. So for two-factor authentication, this is perfect. If you want, set up two separate Gmail accounts. This one is only for two-factor authentication. If you want to use Google Voice for something else, use a different Google phone number for that. Because you can have as many Google phone numbers as you want, one for every email. So you can do that. Different one for every email. Right. So this is the way to use it in a way that prevents. So what are you doing now, hey, if you want to do two-factor? So what are you doing to your Zuckbook account? They said, well, you need to get your phone. You need to give your phone number. What do you do on Twitter? What do you do on Periscope? Because you're saying you're not thinking about that. Well, I'm giving you the option here because most of you will just give your phone number, which is a truly zucked up thing to do, as Facebook already revealed to you. They sold your zucking. That's your phone number. And you're happy with that? You'd rather use that than this. Now your phone number is now sent to every one of those apps. They all know. There is a choice. I just gave you one. Hey, I just gave you a choice. If you use Google Voice, they're not going to know your phone number. I tested it. It works fine. I tested it. It works fine. Okay. Again, repeating the process of what I did here. Okay. It works fine. It worked fine on anything I tried. It worked fine on everything I tried. Okay. What did I do? Okay. I put a Google Voice app on my phone. Then I set up a Google Voice account. And that's a phone number I used for two-factor authentication with all of the apps that I used. All of them. They all accepted it, including Google. Google also accepted it. So all apps accept Google Voice as Google Authentication. And to see your text messages, just run the Google app. It will give you a notification. It will be like texting. It's pretty easy to see. My bank is a real number. Everything else I use is Google Voice. Zuckbook gave me a choice to send 4-digit code to 4 of my friends to unlock the account. Okay, so Garen, so they said, oh, okay, let's find a way to steal more information about you. Let's connect you to 4 of your friends, so we have their phone number as well. Oh boy. Facebook sold your phone number. This is why. If any of you, as you said, Zuck, yeah, you should say, Zuck, you mother Zucker. If any of you use two-factor authentication with SMS, stop that now. This is what this broadcast is about. Stop that now. Do not use your SMS, your mobile phone, for two-factor authentication. Stop it now. Use Google Voice now. This is tried and tested today, this week. Been using it this week. Works great. In combination with this hardware, YubiKey. Yes. Stop using that. You do not have to get this. This is, this is low priority. It's just for people who want it, because you have money, then what's $50 if you have money? Okay? So, I'd rather you spend money on buying a VPN Tor router than buying a YubiKey. But I had to demo this, so I bought one. So I had to buy one. You don't have to buy one. You can use Google Authenticator. But it is more convenient for me. I mean, certainly you can type in your password. So you don't need one of these. Just as long as you use Google Voice. Okay? So for those of you like it, yes, use this. There's a link on my video for this. If you would do that, then Amazon will give me credit for this. And consider me an affiliate. So do that. If you click on it, Amazon starts to like me. Amazon, by the way, I want to tell you something. Amazon went to my website, whatthezuck.net, and canceled my affiliate account and canceled the money I've already made on the affiliate account because of a picture I put in there talking about IoT devices, and I put a picture of some Amazon devices on there, and I was wondering if they were censoring me because of the content. I talk about Alexa Echo and all that negatively, and their excuse is that it was a copyright thing. That I used a photo with their logo on it. So let's see. So I removed that photo and used something else. Let's see if they ban me because they don't like what I say about Alexa Echo. We'll find out. Okay? We'll find out if they ban me from the affiliate program because, well, you're not supportive of Amazon, so we'll see if they censor me, related to free speech on Amazon Echo. Now, I in just to appease them a little bit, I actually modified the article. The article was written a long time ago, and I actually was criticizing Alexa Echo only, but now I changed it to criticize Alexa Echo, Google Nest, and others, so they don't feel too bad. Yes, great gold. They did. I'm looping. Okay, so the other thing that happened, now this is very, very interesting. I have a Patreon account, guys. I have a Patreon account. If you support what I do, you can support me on Patreon with from as little as $5 a month to as much as $100 a month, depending on your ability, and you get some benefits with that. And my Patreon account was locked down for the entire month. I could not take money from Patreon. And they said, suspicious account. And I said, what the fuck is this all about? I was waiting for somebody to say something. And a month and a half later, they didn't tell me anything. So why the fuck are you holding money on Patreon and then not telling me why I'm supposedly suspicious? So I finally broke down and I complained to tech support, and I responded and said that I was not the one that was suspicious, that one of the patrons was suspicious. This is what they claimed. They claimed that it wasn't me that was suspicious. They claimed that one of the patrons was suspicious. So one of them was Vet. So did they not like Vet? Has been using Patreon. He's been supporting other people on Patreon before. So I said, why do they? Because it was the other guy was Vet. So Vet is on Brax. SVC Vet. Yeah, he's on Brax. Has been on Brax for a long time. How is one of the patrons? I don't get it. I don't know. Fake credit cards, or I don't know what that means to be a suspicious. I don't know what it means to be a suspicious patron. I mean, you're giving your money. How can that be suspicious? I mean, the credit card, nobody returns anything. There's no refund. There's no back charges. You take the money and everything looks fine to patron. I don't know. Maybe a name Boris. I don't know. People don't use necessarily the real name on there. So I have no idea who they are. I do, but in theory they should know. Never heard of that before. So anyway, that's some of these platforms are zocked up. I am fortunately not a political scoper, so if anyone's going to censor me, it's just going to be Zuck. My good night, Heidi. Fortunately, my kind of topic is not usually subject to censoring. So, fortunately, drug dealer. Fortunately. So anyway, I have a gig tomorrow morning, so I got to go get up early, and we will start our topic tomorrow. Tomorrow you will learn about how facial recognition works. So we're going to discuss that in detail. And then the next day we're going to talk about why facial recognition is a bad thing. Okay? So Watch the video on YubiKey. It's kind of a long video. So you can see me showing it to you operationally and then see all the options if you want to go hardware. Not necessary, but if you want to do, then like Great Gold, I don't think you need this Great Gold. You're just home based. Change YouTube font color. So yeah, I have to. That was Rush. That was Rush job. YouTube changed the CSS coding and then it stopped working. So I had to just make it appear for now. I actually have to clean up the CSS for that. So a little bit of programming to go figure out what the comments are. Okay? So I'll do it tonight. I'll do it tonight so you don't complain about it tomorrow. You'll have better comments tomorrow. Better than no comments. So good night, guys, and have a great Friday and great Saturday in Europe and in Australia and everywhere else you're at. See you guys tomorrow. Important topic tomorrow, facial recognition. Bring everyone over. Okay, good night.